Good morning, students. Today we will try to understand chapter number 10 Organs of Government in the Civics section. So please try to remove page number 73. Before going deep into the chapter, let us try to have a small outline to understand this chapter. Today, when the governments are ruling, there were different kingdoms and the kings or the nawabs were ruling different territories. In their court, they were appointing different persons at different posts to carry out the administration in a smooth and well mannered way. So, in the present time, also, when the governments are functioning, they also need to be divided in different departments or committees so that the functions become smooth. Indian democratic system has three organs. Please underline the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. In this chapter, we will try to become familiar with their formation, their powers enjoyed, their duties to be performed or their functions, as well as their interpersonal relations, that means between the three, what type of relations they have to maintain. Please underline one of the main objectives of the nation is to maintain law and order in the country. And if law and order is maintained, then only we can achieve the welfare or development or progress can take place. The nation should also see that it is nurturing and protecting the freedom and the fundamental rights of the citizens. For the progressive development of the state, it is very important that these three organs, namely the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary, work in a mutual unity, that means unitedly, cooperation, that means cooperating each other, and coordination, that means coordinating each other, so that the government can run its administration effectively as well as efficiently. Please underline, it is the legislature who is framing the laws. The duty of the legislature is to frame the laws. Then the executive is implementing all the framed laws, and the last or the third department, judiciary, is maintaining law and order by punishing the people who are violating these laws. So, in this way, in short, we are familiar with the functions of these three organs. The legislature, the first organ of India, is consisting of, underline, a parliament at the center, that is Sansad, and the legislative assemblies at the state level, that means Vidhan Sabha or Dhara Sabha. The executive, as per the Constitution of India, is consisting of the President, the Prime Minister, the Cabinet Ministers, and the administrative system, that is the IAS and the IPS officers at the central level, and the Governor, the Chief Minister, and his cabinet, and the administrative system at the state level. Whereas in the judiciary department, the Supreme Court is at the top. In the middle, there are high courts of the states. So every state has one high court. And at the bottom, there are subordinate courts which include district courts and special courts. So it is very clear and clean that judiciary is a separate as well as independent and organized whole department which is completely apart from the legislature and the executive. Our country, India, is a union of states, but no state is completely independent and sovereign. If we compare with USA, in USA all the 51 states are independent as well as sovereign, but in India no state is completely independent and sovereign. The Indian parliamentary system has divided these powers according to the principle of division of powers between the central government and the state government in such a way that the legislature and the executive are totally interdependent on each other. The state government has to depend on the central government, and many a times even the central government has to depend on the state level. But we have the Department of Judiciary, which is a separate department. It is independent also, and it is an impartial organ of the government. Let us try to understand the principle of division of power, how the power is divided. It is the government which carries out the functions of the state governments, and these are different from one another. The functions of all the three organs, that is the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary, are different, and these all functions are requiring a expertise. All the three organs of the government should be administered by different people, not the same people, and each organ should carry out its own functions. By dividing the power, we are avoiding to the misuse of the powers. It is necessary to divide the power between the three organs of the government so that the function of the government becomes easy as well as efficient. To understand this, let us take an example. It is the legislature which is formulating the laws, preparing the laws. But some powers are so given to the executive as well as to the judiciary that the legislature cannot misuse its powers. In the same way, the executive is controlled by giving powers to the legislature and the judiciary, and the judiciary department is controlled by giving powers to the legislature and the executive. That means they are interdependent. Legislature. India is a republic which is having a parliamentary democracy. Sansad. We have Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. The representation of the people at the center is seen at the parliament. So we are electing directly the people who become MPs, member of parliament in the Lok Sabha. And this collage of all the MPs and MLAs are again electing the members of the Rajya Sabha. So directly or indirectly, it is the people who are representing at the central level in the parliament. And in the state, we have the legislative assembly. For example, in Gujarat state, we have 182 talukas. So from 182 talukas, we are electing from every taluka one MLA, and they go and represent the people in the Vidhan Sabha or the legislative assembly. The parliament or the Sansad is an important organ as well as apex at the top level of the nation. Our Sansad or the Indian Parliament is consisting of the President, which underline the Vice President, the Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. Legislature is of two types. unicameral legislature as well as bicameral legislature. When the legislature is consisting of one house, it is called unicameral, and when the legislature is consisting of two houses, it is called bicameral. At the central level, the upper house of the legislature is called the Rajya Sabha and the lower house is called the Lok Sabha. That means we have a bicameral legislature. At the state level, the legislature consists of the legislative assembly and the legislative council. But in all the states, we are not having the legislative council. Most of the states are having only one legislative assembly, that is Vidhan Sabha. But states like Bihar, Uttar Pradesh and Maharashtra have legislative councils also. These are very similar to Rajya Sabha. So, wherever, in whichever state we are having only Vidhan Sabha, then there is bicameral legislature, and whichever state has both the houses, that is the legislative assembly as well as the legislative council, they are known as bicameral legislature. Legislature at the central level, Parliament, Sansad, we start with Lok Sabha. Lok Sabha is the lower house of the Parliament. The members of the Lok Sabha are the representatives of the people who are elected through direct election. As I told you, that the people are voting for MP. Roughly we can say that every district is selecting one MP, and each MP represents the district and goes to the Lok Sabha. There are in all 545 members of the Lok Sabha, please underline. Out of these 545 members, 2 members are not elected but selected by the President, and that also from the Anglo-Indian community. President of India is also a part of the Parliament, including the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. It is the President who is addressing the first meeting of the Parliament and also the joint sessions of the Parliament. Besides these two occasions, the President is never attending the Parliament. So he is only remaining present when either they have to address the new members of the Lok Sabha or when there is a joint session of both the houses. Only at that time the President remains present in the Parliament. The President has the authority to summon, to call both the houses of the Parliament together for any discussion, can withhold the proceedings of both the houses. He has a right to stop the proceedings of both the houses, and the President can also dissolve the Parliament. So very important functions of the President. He can summon both the houses, he can withdraw the proceedings of both the houses, and he can even dissolve the Parliament. Also, another important function, a bill which is passed through 3 readings in both the houses of the Parliament can become an act only after the President signs it. Though the bill has been passed by both the houses, but the President does not sign, then the bill cannot become a law. A very important function of the President of India. Lok Sabha is not a permanent house. Its term is of only 5 years. Once that term is over, all the members have to resign. If it is not dissolved before the completion of the term, so suppose there is any problem and the President dissolves the Lok Sabha, then again fresh elections will take place. The Constitution of India is supreme and not the Parliament. Parliament is not supreme, but Constitution is supreme. So the Parliament has to enjoy its power within the limits which are prescribed in the constitution. It cannot go against it. If the laws framed by the parliament violates the constitution, then they can be challenged in the court. If the court finds the framed laws against the provision of the constitution, the court can nullify the laws, means remove the law, cancel the law. Nullify means to cancel. Now, who can become a member of the Lok Sabha? That is MP. To be qualified as a candidate of Lok Sabha or to be elected as a member of Lok Sabha, he or she, first of all, please underline, should be a citizen of India, and his age should be more than 25 years or exactly 25 years. Then he or she should not be having unsound mind, not a mad person or insolvent. Financially, he must be a stable person, having some cash and property. He or she should not be an employee of the central government or the state government. And last but not the least, he must not be a proven criminal. If he is a proven criminal, then he cannot contest for the election of the Lok Sabha. There should be a period of 6 months between the two sittings of the parliament. So we know that there are sessions in the parliament, and for calling a new session, the period of 6 months should be there. It is the president who can dissolve the Lok Sabha on the council of the Prime Minister. A member of any of the house of the parliament can attend the proceedings of that house and can vote in the same house. But a member of the cabinet ministry can attend the proceedings of both the houses of the parliament even if he or she is not a member of Lok Sabha. But if he or she is a member of the upper house, then he or she can vote in that house only. That means the members of the Lok Sabha cannot attend the meeting in the Rajya Sabha. Neither the Rajya Sabha member can attend the meeting in the Lok Sabha. But yes, the cabinet ministers can attend the meetings of both the houses. But they can vote only in any one house. Our Gujarat state has a representation of 26 members in the Lok Sabha, so we are sending 26 MPs. And the term of the Lok Sabha is 5 years, but if needed, President has the right to dissolve Lok Sabha. In case of even national emergency, the term of Lok Sabha can be extended for 1 more year. So it can be dissolved also, it can be also extended also. If the president is dissolving the parliament, then no one can challenge this in the court. Quorum, presence of members in the house for voting. Quorum is the number of members present in the house of the parliament. It is the number of the members present in the and working in the house out of the total number of members of that house. So minimum quorum is given to us is 1/10. That means out of 545 members, at least 55 should be present. And in Lok Sabha, as there are 250 members, 1/10 means 25 members should be present for the working to be carried out in the Rajya Sabha. Second house, that is the upper house, Rajya Sabha. It is a representative house of all the states and union territories of India. That means all the MLAs and MPs are voting and electing the members of Rajya Sabha. The members in Rajya Sabha are 250. These members are indirectly elected by the members of the legislative assemblies of the state and the union territories by a method of equivalent representation. In all, 238 members of the Rajya Sabha are elected because the remaining 12 members are nominated by the President of India. There is no election, but there is nomination. Any celebrity in different fields like in literature or in sports, they are given a chance to become a member of the Rajya Sabha. For example, Sachin Tendulkar or our MS Dhoni, they are the members of Rajya Sabha, or even Jaya Bachchan is also a member of Rajya Sabha, belonging to their own fields. These nominated members should be having special knowledge or practical experience with respect to literature. These are the fields: science, arts, culture, sports, and social service. Now, no person can be a member of both the house simultaneously at the same time. He can become a member of only one house, that is either Rajya Sabha or Lok Sabha. What are the qualifications for the membership of Rajya Sabha? As we earlier saw of Lok Sabha, now let us try to underline of Rajya Sabha. First of all, he should be a citizen of India, underline. Secondly, his or her age should be 30 years or more, underline, second qualification. Third qualification, same, he or she should not be of unsound mind, insolvent or criminal. Fourth, he or she should not be a government employee taking salary or holding any office of profit. State of Gujarat has the representation of 11 seats in Rajya Sabha. So from Gujarat state we are sending 11 members in Rajya Sabha. This Rajya Sabha is a permanent house and so it cannot be dissolved completely. But underline, one third of its members are retiring every 2 years and the same number are elected. Though the tenure of the member of the Rajya Sabha is of 6 years and not of 5 years. However, the members are eligible for re-election as well as renomination. Generally, both the houses of parliament are meeting for 3 times a year. Please underline. These meetings are known as sessions, also underline. And which are these 3 sessions? We have budget session, we have monsoon season, and we have winter season session. The Vice President of India, by virtue of his office, is holding the office of Chairman of Rajya Sabha. So, in Lok Sabha we have the Speaker, but the Chairman of Rajya Sabha is the Vice President. Whereas the Vice Chairman of the Rajya Sabha is elected by the member of the Rajya Sabha from among themselves. Please underline, the first Chairman of the Rajya Sabha of Independent India was Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan. Now we come to Speaker of Lok Sabha. The main function of the Speaker is to see that the proceedings of the Lok Sabha are getting organized in the prescribed form which are mentioned in the Constitution. No one should go against it. Then discipline should be maintained in the Lok Sabha. Even order and dignity of the House should be maintained. These are the topmost functions of the Speaker to see. The members of the Lok Sabha are electing their Speaker and Deputy Speaker from among themselves. It is the Speaker who is presiding over the session of the Lok Sabha and tries to maintain and control its functioning. The Speaker is expecting discipline from all the members of the Lok Sabha. And Speaker is the protector of the dignity of the Lok Sabha. His decisions in the House are final also and conclusive also. No one can challenge it. Now this Speaker can belong to any political party or can even have a strong support of any political party. But after he is appointed as the Speaker, then he has to carry out the proceedings of the Parliament in a firm as well as impartial manner, no partiality. By gaining a majority of the members of the Lok Sabha on a resolution to remove the speaker, with this a speaker can be removed from his post by giving a 14-day notice. So even the speaker can be removed, but if most of the members are against him, then only, otherwise no. And before removing, he should be given a 14-day notice period. All the speeches and criticism in the Lok Sabha is done by addressing the speaker only. You might have experienced that when you see the Doordarshan channel of Vidhan Sabha or Lok Sabha, then every person or every MP, when he starts to speak, he says, Adhyaksh Mahoday, right? He has to respect the speaker mind well. The working in both the houses, that is Rajya Sabha or Lok Sabha, can be carried out in either language, that is either English or Hindi. But a speaker can permit any member of the Lok Sabha to speak in his own language, local language or mother tongue, in case he does not know English or Hindi, because there is a translating channel which will translate into Hindi or English whatever he speaks in his local language. If any member of the Lok Sabha is remaining absent for a continuous period of 60 days, then without informing the speaker, then his seat will be declared as vacant. So to remain absent, he should inform the speaker. If he is not informing, then his seat is declared as a vacant seat. So fresh elections can be carried out. Very important, casting vote. Now when the proceedings of the house is going on, there may arise a question or matter or problem while discussing any bill or act where we are not able to find a clear-cut majority. Both the parties, that is those who are in favor and those who are against, the number is same, as it happens in cricket match, not tie. Or when both the teams are scoring equal goals or equal runs, then there is a tie. Same way, when in parliament also, in both the houses, if there is a case when people in favor or in against are same, then at that time only the speaker can give his vote, otherwise no. Please try to understand. Only when there are equal number of votes in favor or against the matter, then in such a condition the speaker can give his deciding vote, and this vote is only known as casting vote. Otherwise the speaker cannot vote. Please underline, Sri Ganesh Vasudev Maulankar was the first speaker of Lok Sabha. Now if the speaker is absent, then the proceedings are conducted by the deputy speaker, and in the absence of the speaker and deputy speaker, the proceedings of the Lok Sabha are conducted by a speaker's panel, which is consisting of the senior, experienced and those who are familiar with the proceedings of the parliament experts from different political parties.